Okay, period. So, hello, everybody. My name is Jada Harrison, and my co-facilitator, Jasmine Davis. Wave your hand. Wave your hand, Jasmine. She's going to smile like cute. We are second year MSW students, and we are presenting you all with great information on all things money. Today's topic will include salary negotiation, money management slash budgeting, and a brief conversation on student loan repayment. My guests today are Mr. Nigel Smith and Joshua Dunn. Mr. Nigel is a part of the Graduate Career Student Resources Hub over in the Career Center, and Joshua is a part of the Graduate Student Center student support over at the Student Success Center. I want to advise everybody to please hold your questions until the end. If anything, drop them in the chat along the way. And let's go ahead and get started, and I will turn it over to Mr. Nigel now.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to ask you all one favor. While we do this, if you have your phones available, I'm going to ask you to use your phones maybe 2 or 3 different times in this during this presentation. So if you have your phone, grab your phone, and I will be right with you here. So first, if you could just scan the QR code on the screen, that just lets me know that you were here. All righty. Thank you for that. And I'm Nigel Smith. I'm the manager of Graduate Student Career Advising. I'm representing the Career Center today, and I'll be giving you some quick tips on salary negotiation. Just a forewarning, this is not the full workshop. These are just, this is a truncated version, just some quick tips to think about the process of starting to think about salary negotiation. If you are near graduation, and I mean, when I say near, I mean anywhere between 12 months. As soon as you start your program, you should be thinking about the money. And we don't often have conversations about the money, but I want to initiate that conversation today. One thing I want to start with is our motto in the Career Center. We try to educate and empower all of our students to think about lifelong career management skills. And what we mean by that is we don't want you thinking about the job that you're going to have at graduation. If you are thinking about the job that you want at graduation, then your career plan is a bit short-sighted. Let me give you an example. Please unmute and if you have the answer. What do you need to do to become a social worker? Take a guess. Well, once you
Study.
graduate, right? And once you pass your licensing exam, you're a social worker. So if you're planning to be a social worker at graduation, your career plan is short-sighted because all you have to do to to meet your career plan is graduate. But what happens is our generation now, my parents, they worked for 30 years, they got a pension, they got to go watch, and they got a retirement party. We don't do that anymore. We constantly are looking for new jobs. By the time you are at retirement age, you will probably have about 15 to 20 different jobs in your life. So if you're planning to be the thing that you can be by simply graduating, what happens 5 years from now when you want to elevate yourself? 10 years from now, you have to think about who you're going to be in 2035. And I'm home today. I apologize. My puppy is in the background, so just ignore him. But you have to think about who you want to be in the future. Okay. So when you start career planning, that's how you start your career plan. You want to think about your career plan 5 to 10 years out. And we're not expecting you to know how to do that. That's why we're here. And I'm here to assist you in that process. So please reach out if you are thinking about what you would like to do and how you can facilitate creating that career plan for the short term and for the long term. Now, just to let you know a little bit about who the Career Center is, we help you in a lot of different ways. We have uh, um, internship opportunities. You have the opportunity to do co-ops. A co-op is a very long internship. If you're ever thinking about doing something in addition to your practicum and you don't have a lot of time, maybe you want to think about a micro internship. There's opportunities for you to do that as well. We also have career fairs. We have one last career fair that's happening next week. It's Wednesday and Thursday. It's our All Majors Fair. You can sign up for that on Handshake, and you can also sign up to meet with me on Handshake. I'm on Handshake. You can set up appointments with me for any aspect of career planning that you would like. And I'm a social worker myself, so if you need anything, please reach out. I'm happy to help. If I can provide you with some information or get you to the right person, I'm happy to do that. All right. Don't suffer in silence. And if you would like to attend the full session and you would like to get all of the tips, I'll be doing a full set on this. If you have your phone out, if you would like to register for that, if you could scan the screen, that'll be a virtual event as well on April 7th. And I'm happy to host you at that time and give you the full session for salary negotiation at that time. Oh, let me go back to that just in case someone didn't get it. Everybody, just give me a thumbs up if you got it. All righty. Now, let me start off with some reasons why you should negotiate. You should never accept the first offer. Never accept the first offer. Okay. Salary, work perks, big purchases, relocation, health benefits, vacation days, monthly bills, even your debt payments are all open to negotiation. If you're applying for a federal position, a lot of people don't know this. Okay. But if you get a federal position, you are able to get $60,000 of your student loans repaid, but they don't give it to you automatically. You have to ask for it. There's a way to go about asking for that. So I'm giving you a little game right now. If you are thinking about going to a federal position like the VA, you can ask for $60,000 of your student loans to be paid, but they're not going to offer you that. So you must negotiate and never accept the first offer. They're never giving you all the money up front. They're expecting you to give some type of negotiation. So you can negotiate salary or benefits. Now, make sure the timing is right. Mastering the art of this is key to being successful at it. So don't try to go into this at the point of negotiation. You've already interviewed, they've offered you a salary, and now you want to start thinking about salary negotiation. It's never too early to start thinking about how much you're worth, because then you'll go in with the knowledge of what you're supposed to be getting and what a fair offer looks like. So you want to dive into research. Some of the places that you can go get start that research, Glassdoor is a good example of a place where you can get that research. Payscale.com is another place. I like to go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That is the most accurate information, or the Department of Labor, but there are shortcuts to that information as well. But Glassdoor and PayScale is a great way to start that research. Now, when it comes to negotiating the offer, a starting salary can have a huge impact on you for years to come. So although it may be, it's probably worth the discomfort that it may be um, negotiating your salary. Because I'll tell you this, if you were to get a salary that's much lower than what you expected, all right, let's say you go into a job and the job pays $70,000 a year, but you get 60, okay? Now you stay there for 10 years. How much money did you lose? Go ahead, Jada. I see you thinking.
How long
How
is it
much
like
how
10?
much
Is
did
it
you
like
lose?
10,000?
How much?
Is it 10,000?
You
I ain't
lose
that good
you
at
lost
math.
a hundred thousand
Oh,
dollars. 100,000. So if you stay there for 10 years and they paid you $10,000 less than what you were supposed to make, That's $100,000 that you never are never going to see again. But it's not just $100,000. Okay, it's much more than that. What you're missing is that $100,000 impacts your annual salary raises. So if you get a 3 to 5% raise, it's based off your base salary. So your raises are based off of that. Lifetime lost income for taking the lower amount can be upwards of 1.2 to $1.5 million over the course of your lifetime. Okay. And also that $10,000 you could have put down on a house, you could have bought a house. That house can appreciate by 25% by the time you go to sell it, or in 10 years. So usually houses appreciate by 25%. That's money that you could have invested in the stock market. It could have just sat in your bank account and acquired interest. But the key is it's your money. It should have been your money. And if you're waiting to see how long it would take to get that money back just by looking at annual raises, it'll take you 10 years to get to that 70,000, where you should have been at that 70,000 10 years ago. Okay. So it's critical to negotiate salary every time. Now, silence is your friend. When you get that first offer, make sure that you take a few days to consider it. Even if it's more than what you wanted, don't ever take the first offer. I can't express that enough. You want to give yourself a few days to consider it. That's when you call me, you talk to me in the Career Center, you talk to your faculty, you talk to folks in the industry to see if it's a good offer, not just from the money, but also from the benefits perspective. Okay, so you can take time to think about that response and then produce a figure that is a good counter offer. All right, now, one tip, remember this: never give them a solid number. If you want 65,000, don't tell them that. You want to give them a range. So when you are responding, you'll let them know, I would like something in the range of 65 to $70,000. Now, how you create that range, I'll talk to you more about that in our larger presentation. So if you're interested in that, just reach out to me. If you missed the sign up that I just showed, but I'll get more into that. But you never want to give them a solid number. You always want to give a range because that gives you more room for negotiation. Now, you must do your homework before you negotiate a raise, or if you're looking to negotiate a raise at your current job. Okay. If you're willing to negotiate a range, even if you're not at, let's say some people don't negotiate salary or negotiate a range because they don't think that their job is very professional. Maybe they may be working in customer service, or they may be working a job where they're just waiting until they get that big job. Well, you can ask for a raise at that job as well. If you're going to do that, make sure that you keep a list of your accomplishments, because you want to have that ammunition when you're going in to ask for that raise. Because the one thing that they're going to want to know is, why do you think that you deserve the money that you're asking for? All right. You also have to be realistic about that number that you're asking for. If you're making X amount of dollars and you want to make 30% more than what you're currently earning, then you have to justify that, because that's a huge jump. Okay. You also have to be cognizant of if they will be willing to pay you that. And I'll talk about that a bit more in a few minutes. So, especially ones where the money, where you will hit a milestone if you make a certain amount of money. Okay. So, the more that you can quantify your skills and quantify the impact that you've had at the job, the better. So you want to take your time to really think about how you can quantify that. One thing that you want to do, one tip in that area, is look at your performance evaluations. If you're constantly getting good performance evaluations and your money is not increasing, which happens if you work at state or government agencies pretty often, then you may need to go in and justify why you're asking for the money that you're wanting. Okay. Like, some ways of thinking about that: or did you increase something by a certain percentage? Did you decrease something by a certain percentage? Did you help a certain percentage of people? If you did any of these things, these are things that you want to highlight as you're working. Keep note of that, because this is your ammunition when you go into that conversation about salary negotiation. Now, you want to make sure that you know what they're offering, all right? It's not all about salary. It's not all about the base salary. That is not the only component of your negotiation. It is about the benefits. So you want to know what they're offering in terms of bonuses, vacation time, insurance, equity, travel benefits, if they have a 401k, if they have a match for their 401k. If you don't know what a 401k is, I'll tell you more about that in the larger session. But a 401k is basically the money that you save as you work for retirement. Okay. If you don't save any money, then when you retire, you're not going to have anything to live off. Okay. If you're not working for someplace that offers you a pension and you didn't prepare for retirement, then you're going to be working at Walmart as a greeter when you're 75 years old, and nobody wants that. Okay. So these are things that you need to take into account now, and be educated on these things. Um, and then you can ask them questions about that. I once had a job where I took the job, I was happy, I got the salary. And when I started, I found out that my health benefits were going to be $10,000 a year. I didn't know that. So I had turned down the job to accept that position. Had I known that, I would have never taken the job. I would have gone with the other position because $10,000 a year for health benefits is crazy. But that was my fault. And I took that L so that I can come and let you know not to do the things that I did. Okay, so you want to make sure that you ask questions. You can ask them how much is the health benefits going to be at the end of my paycheck. When I get paid, how much is going to be my take home salary after my health insurance is taken out of my paycheck? All right. That's something that you can ask and they can give you that information so you know exactly what your paycheck will look like. Also, you want to do your research. You want to gauge what other people are making in the industry. And you can do that by using your network, talking to people in the industry, also reaching out to alumni from the school. Reaching out to alumni is a good technique because it's a warm introduction. It's a warm transfer, so to speak, because you're talking to a Gamecock like yourself. Hey, we both went to USC. I see that you're working at such and such place. What is it like working there? How much can I expect to make? I'm not asking you your salary, but how much can I expect to make as an entry level person going into the industry or going into working at your organization or agency? That simple knowledge will keep you empowered when going into a salary negotiation because now you have an understanding of what the base salary could possibly be if you're going into a certain industry. All right. And when you reach back out to a new with a new salary proposal, you should recommend. I recommend that you ask for the high end of the most reasonable number. Okay, so a reasonable number is usually about 20 to 30% over what they offered you. Anything over 30%, you might want to look for another job because it's not likely that you will get 30% over what the offer was. However, you do want to know what the mid range is and then start your salary negotiation from there. All right. Now, you might get some pushback, but don't worry about them actually rescinding your offer. A lot of people don't negotiate salary because they think that they're going to lose the offer. They're not going to take the offer back because you initiated salary negotiation. Okay. You, the average job has about 300 applicants right now. Sometimes you're applying against hundreds, thousands of other people. It's not unlikely for a job to get 7,000 applications or 1,000 applications. If you beat out 300, 400, 1,000 people for a job, they want you. They want you and they want you bad. They like what they saw, and they're not going to rescind their offer simply because you are asking for more money, especially if what you're asking for is a fair request. So make sure that you understand what your worth is and that you go in knowing that it's okay to negotiate salary. They're not going to take the offer back if you do that. All right. Now, if you would like to have conversations with alumni, if you're on LinkedIn, I suggest that at this stage in your academic career, every one of you should have a LinkedIn page, okay? If you are looking to build out a LinkedIn page, I actually have a workshop coming up on building your LinkedIn page actually on Monday. So you can look on Handshake and you can sign up for that. But you should have a LinkedIn page at this point. And if you go to the University of South Carolina's page, you can actually see where you can contact alumni, and you can even search for alumni by major. Okay, so you can look for alumni from the University of South Carolina that graduated in social work. And you can just see where they're working, get a sense of where they're working. I would even keep a list of where they're working. That's a good way to start thinking about, okay, these are possible places that I should be applying. And as you reach out to these folks, as you read their profiles, and then you start to reach out to these folks, then you will have some questions to ask them about, hey, what are some things that I can expect in the field? And also, what salary should I be expecting when I go into the field? If you do this, 80% of the jobs that you can expect at this point will come from your network. You may get a job opportunity or information based on you knowing someone that you would never get otherwise. And who wants to be in competition with 1,000 other people applying when you could possibly meet the hiring manager that went to the same school as you that may be able to connect you to a position? Just this week on LinkedIn, someone reached out to me that, from the alumni from my school that offered me some position from LinkedIn. Okay, so it's a real thing. A lot of people get opportunities from that. You need to build your LinkedIn page. It's just like as much time as you spend on Instagram and TikTok, you should spend the same amount of time on LinkedIn building your professional self. Now, if you are trying to negotiate salary and they can't move on money, they may be able to move on benefits. Okay. So it's important to understand what the benefits are and how they can be beneficial to you, thinking about increasing your conversation around benefits. All right. Is there more equity that they can offer you? Maybe there's stock options that they can offer you. Is there a annual bonus that you may be able to get? Is there better dental, vision, or general medical plans? A fertility plan that may not be important to you right now, but if you're planning to start a family in the future, knowing that a job gives you a certain amount of time if you have a child is huge. Okay, knowing that if you have difficulty having children, that the place that you're working will their medical benefits covers that is a huge benefit. All right, is there a way for you to be more flexible? Do I have the option to work from home? Can I work remote? Can I have a hybrid schedule where I come in maybe some days out of the week and some days I don't? I had an employee that worked right in the career center with me, and I looked around and I'm like, she isn't here 2 days a week. Well, when she got the job, she negotiated working from home 2 days a week. So where they weren't able to probably bump her up pay wise, they were able to negotiate that aspect of it. And we worked in the same position, but she asked and I didn't. See what I'm saying? So it's beneficial to know these things so that you can know how to handle these opportunities when you meet them. All right. Will they contribute to your match in your 401k plan? You also might want to consider asking that they have a growth track. What is it? Do they have a management training program? What is their professional development like? How can you get in tied in with that? If you're asking for a raise, you want to make sure that you gather evidence to support your request, okay? Make the case that you're crushing it. You want to make sure that you're doing a good job. If you're not doing a good job, if you've just been reprimanded twice and you're on your third strike and you may be about to lose your job, that's not the time to ask for a raise. But if you're doing great, if you're making great strides and you're really crushing it at work, you want to make sure that you have that evidence for when you go in for that raise request. Okay. So the only way for you to do that is while you're working, take notes and highlight the things that you've done very well, and also come with specifics. Don't be afraid to print out examples. And examples are, hey, based on the my education level and the work that I'm doing, the average salary for this area should be this, and I'm being paid this. Okay. And if you have trouble finding that out or learning that, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you, guide you through that process. So don't be afraid to bring examples with you because that's your evidence, okay? You also need to know your worth. If you don't know your worth, then you leave it up to the business for them to define it for you. You all have been in school for the last 140 years. You've eaten your share of ramen and Chinese food. You're tired. You want to just get out and work. If someone makes you an offer, 9 times out of 10, you're going to accept that offer. Okay. But that offer may not be even close to what you're worth based on your level of knowledge, based on your skill set that you bring forth. They're not giving you a paycheck. You're earning your paycheck with the skills that you have. Okay. So it's important for you to know that. And if you don't, then you leave it up to the business to define that worth for you. All right. Now, you want to practice this with a friend, with a trusted coworker. You could even practice it with me. We can go over salary negotiation before you go into this process. And remember the art of the humble brag. This is not the time to be humble, okay? You want to let them know what your skills are. And you don't even have to be that confident to do that. If you look at the job description and you have all of the skills located in the job description, just simply reiterate that during the salary negotiation process, okay? If you have if you've passed everything on your annual evaluation, that's your ammunition when you walk in. So you don't have to be confident, just speak confidently about these things. All right. Show them how awesome you are and why it's important for them to keep you there. Because if they lose you, they may be losing a substantial part of their team and all the skills that you have. Also, you want to make the case for what's good for the company. Never make it personal. It's never about you, okay? What I mean by that is it's not the time to mention money because you need it. If you're saying, "Oh, my rent just increased, I have to pay child care, I have an ailing parent that I have to take care of," the job doesn't care about that. All right? That's not their business to care about your personal needs, but they do care about what you bring to the table as far as your skills and your work ethic. Okay. So never make it personal. Always keep it professional. When talking about salary, always talk about why you're asking for a higher salary based on your skill set and based on your performance. All right. Focus on how you're going above and beyond. And that's the reason for that you need a higher salary. Also, you want to negotiate salary if you are juggling multiple offers. If you have multiple offers, be honest. Let them know, hey, I have another offer on the table. It's completely fine to let the employer know that you have that. If you are juggling between two people and one person offered you one salary and you don't want to work for them necessarily, you want to work for company A, but company B offered you more, you can go in and let them know, thank you so much for the offer. I really appreciate it. The gracious offer. However, I do have an offer. Don't give them the amount that they are offering you, but let them know I have an offer in the range of, let them know a range, and then say, you're my first choice, but I'm wondering if we could possibly match that offer or get closer to it. All right. That's perfectly fine to say. Now, I want to hone in on this. Silence is silence is your friend, okay? People, especially women, I know there's a majority of women on this call. It is very important for you to negotiate salary, okay? In America, we have what we call the gender wage gap, and you're not going to be paid what you deserve simply by being a female, all right? So if we look at the stats, Asian women make 85 cents on the dollar that white men make. White women make 77 cents on the dollar. Black women make 63 cents on the dollar. Latina women make 53 cents on the dollar. All right. That's that's something that we can avoid by simply just knowing how much you're supposed to be paid and going in and asking for it, because it's not fair for women to make less simply because they're a woman. All right. and nobody can justify it, but we keep seeing it over and over. The gender wage gap at its current rate won't close until 2050. All right. So it's important for you to understand why you should be negotiating salary, because people are not necessarily going to offer you what you deserve. They're going to offer you what's most beneficial for them. All right. Now, out of the sake of time, I'll skip this, and I will send this to you if you ask, but I want to go on this. If you are negotiating salary and they say, okay, well, based on this is a way that you can respond. Okay. So based on the first, thank them for the offer, but based on the industry average and my experience, I'm seeking a number between 63,000 and 66,000 annually. Okay. So I stated based on my experience, not my personal needs, but based on my experience and my skills, I'm asking for something within this range. All right. If you're countering the offer, I'm eager to work here, and I know that I bring a lot of value, and I appreciate the offer at 58. But I was expecting the offer to be in the range of 63 to 66 based on my experience, my drive, and my performance. Can we look at a salary in that range? Also, I just spoke about this. If you're fielding multiple offers, you can let them know how much that other offer is. I wouldn't let them know the exact amount, but you can let them know the range in what you're being offered and see if you can get closer to that number from there. All right. So again, I will be talking more about this on April 7th. I'll send you this material. I'll put my email in the chat if anyone has any questions or would like to talk to me privately. We're located in the Career Center in Thomas Cooper Library. These are our hours on the screen if you ever want to make an appointment. And I'll ask you to take your phones out one last time. That's just a survey on today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you on April 7th to talk about this a bit more. Or you can talk to me personally about your own situation. If you have not began to career plan, I'm happy to start that process with you. It's never too early or late to start. So let's talk. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Nigel.
No problem.
Thank you.
And now we'll push it on to Mr. Joshua.
All right, let me share my screen. Real quick note, if y'all haven't used Nigel's link to sign in, I'm gonna be depending on I'm gonna make Nigel send me that as well. So so if y'all have a second to make sure you do that, it is in the chat. I'm gonna share my screen here. Let's see, all right. Can y'all see my screen now, or is that coming through?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. I am Josh Dunn. I'm the Assistant Director for Graduate Student Support. This is managing your money in grad school. So you can see the slides for some reason. Cool. So really today I'm going to talk to y'all, and this is going to be an abbreviated version of our money management presentation. But I really want to talk to y'all about, while you're here, how you can start building some of those habits to manage your money, so that as you transition into your careers and beyond, you've started building those skills. All right, so our agenda for today. We're going to talk a little bit about the financial challenges that graduate students face, so that you may see yourselves in some of these. We're going to go over some budgeting and spending habits. We're going to talk very, very briefly about student loan repayment, and then I'll introduce you all to some resources if you weren't familiar for them. As we go along, feel free to blow up the chat with any questions or things like that. I'll try my best to get to them. And I have a few moments where I really want y'all's responses. So this is one of them. So throw it in the chat. What are some of the challenges that graduate students face when it comes to their finances? We know that finances are a huge challenge for graduate students. So I kind of want to hear from y'all. This can be about yourself, obviously, or about people that you know, experiences that you've had. Yeah, okay, yes, rent payments, making payments on time, that is huge.
Yeah, I agree. Paying my rent on time, having like saving up money, that's really hard. Um, and also paying off like credit cards or other bills.
Yeah. And also I see unexpected car repairs. And by the way, y'all, I want to say all of this is um and this is national data that I'm about to show y'all, but 60% of master's students and 55% of doctoral students report feeling stressed about their finances on a regular basis. Those are large percentages. You're also going to see that 38% of master's students and 36% of doctoral students are worried about just being able to make their monthly expenses. That includes, can I pay my rent? Can I make my car payments? Can I, pay my insurance for this month? Can I make sure that I have groceries for this month? So this is something that we see on a national level. Also, 41% take out loans to finance their graduate education. And if you already took out loans in undergrad, you're twice as likely to take out additional loans for grad school, which just makes sense, right? Because if you had to take out loans for undergrad, there aren't these other sources of income there available for you. So you have that, additional loan burden. So one of the things that, I think about a lot and I want to hear from y'all is, what goes on outside of the classroom impacts what happens in the classroom. So how have financial stressors impacted your success in grad school? Have they impacted your success? Do you feel like being stressed about finances has, impacted you in any way? Curious to hear from y'all. This may be a personal question, but I'm curious if any of y'all have any examples.
For me personally, it definitely has impacted grad school. Like it's added another stress to my plate. And just because I work, I go back home on the weekends. It's to work. It's really hard to have extra time to do my schoolwork. So I had to sacrifice other, personal time or self-care time to be able to finish schoolwork or, papers or readings and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I hear this from students all the time, which is, they're having to work extra jobs, and they're sitting in class thinking about whether or not they're going to be able to pay their rent rather than thinking about the material in front of them. This is all stuff I hear. And Sonia, I'll make sure that y'all get the slides as well, so that you can share that out. So all this to say that money management matters in graduate school, and I can't solve some of the more fundamental issues with when it comes to financial stresses in graduate school, but I hope I can offer y'all some tools that may be useful as you are as you're navigating this. So I want to talk to y'all about budgeting, some of the whys and hows of budgeting, and I want to talk about it kind of from a different angle. So what is a budget? So yes, it's a spending plan based on your income and what's coming in and what's coming out. But I also really want to emphasize that a budget should be and is a reflection of your values and your priorities. You have X amount of money at your disposal. How is that going to reflect? How is your spending going to reflect what you care about and what you value in life? So we're going to talk about a couple of different methods today. We're going to talk about the 50-30-20 method. We're going to talk about zero-based budgeting, and we'll talk about the envelope system as well. But I kind of want to talk about why make a budget. So there's a lot of different reasons to make a budget. The first is just limit that unnecessary spending. I know for a fact in my own life that there are things that I spend money on that I really don't need to. And if y'all feel so inclined, throw them in the chat. What are those things that you know that maybe you spend a little bit more money on than you would like? Other reasons to make a budget, having a specific goal and saving towards that goal is incredibly important. And just knowing where your money is going. Budgeting is an awareness tool. It's understanding, what's coming in, where it's going. And again, does it reflect your values and your priorities? Perfume and coffee, food and coffee, subscriptions are huge. Going out to eat, absolutely. These are things that I see common, and it makes sense actually as a graduate student, right? By the time that you get home, you really have the mental energy to sit down and cook yourself a meal. It's so easy to, to instead grab a bite to eat out. So one of the things that I ask students is, what is your financial vision? Because a budget is simply a tool towards whatever those goals might be. So some goals: start paying down student loans and other debts. That might be what you have versus your priority. Maybe your goal is to save up for a down payment, create an emergency fund. Maybe you're interested in investing and you want to start putting some money aside. And maybe your goal is just that you want spending that aligns with your values. You want to make sure that you're using your money in a way, if you value travel, that you're setting money aside for travel. If you value having great dining experiences, that you're putting money aside for great dining experiences. If you value financial safety or financial security, that you're really building those emergency funds. So if you have some specific goals in mind, I know it can be so hard to think about these goals in graduate school when maybe your goal is just surviving, week to week, month to month. But if you have any of those goals, I'd love to hear them. Throw them in the chat as we kind of move forward. I want to talk a little bit about the 50-30-20 method of budgeting. This is sort of like a general framework of how much of your budget you dedicate to certain things. So the idea behind the 50-30-20 budget is that under this budget, 50% of your income goes towards necessities, 30% goes to things that you want, things that you enjoy, and then 20% goes to your savings, goes down to paying debts down, et cetera, et cetera. So this is not necessarily this is not necessarily like a strict formula that you have to follow. It's just a way of visualizing where your priorities are and where they should be. Now, what difficulties would you as a graduate student possibly run into trying to follow the 50-30-20 rule currently as a graduate student? Well, that's a rhetorical question. The answer is that maybe 90% of your income is going towards needs, because what you're making is you're just barely able to pay things like rent, car insurance, car payments, gas, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe you have to make an adjustment as a graduate student to say, okay, I am putting, right now, if I do the calculations, 80% of my monthly income is going towards just getting by. But I still have that 20%. So how do I want to split that up? What do I want to do with that 20%? So it's just a way of visualizing and hopefully getting into the habit of understanding what kind of categories your spending is going into, so that when you have those full-time paychecks, you're already in the habit of thinking about what percentage of your money is going towards what aspects of your life. Another method that I highly recommend for students is zero-based budgeting. In zero-based budgeting, you look at your monthly income and you assign a job to every single dollar that you know that you're going to have. So that may be, you have your rent bucket where you know that you're going to pay X amount every month for rent. So you set that money aside mentally. All the needs and necessities get their own little bucket. But then let's say however much money you have left for, wants and desires, you allocate reasons for that money. So maybe you're like, listen, if you're like me, I'm not ready to give up going out and getting a nice cup of coffee. It is what allows me to continue to enjoy life. So if I'm doing zero-based budgeting, I'm going to set a certain amount of my monthly income that is dedicated just to that fund. I might have a separate fund that is going out to eat with my friends. I might have a fund that I set aside specifically for, pet care, etc. But I know where every single dollar that is coming into my bank account is going out that month. And that allows me to understand if I'm going to be overspending, if there are certain buckets that maybe I put too much money into. And the nice thing about this is it's not a strict sort of you have to follow it all the time rule. You can make adjustments as you go along. Like if you realize that you're putting way too much money into one category, you can move those categories around. There are a lot of really cool apps that help you do this. You Need a Budget is one. They do have a free 1-year subscription if you have a student email. Good Budget is another. And I'm sure you can find others out there that are kind of based on this method. Something that is very similar to the zero-based method, but is much more hands-on and tactical, is the envelope system. So this is where you kind of do the same thing as the zero-based method, but you do everything in cash. So you actually pull out your income out of your bank account, you set the cash aside, and you have cash in specific envelopes for specific purposes. If you tend to be an impulsive spender, sometimes having cash in hand can give you a physical kind of reality of like, oh my gosh, it's actually dwindling every time. My $6 coffees are adding up. I'm running out of my coffee fund. Obviously, there are some downsides to this, like doing everything in cash means that you might not have as much money in your bank account if you do get hit with an unnecessary or an unexpected expense, but it is a great way to kind of make sure that you know exactly where your money is going. Whatever method that you choose, there are a couple of tips that I want to leave y'all with. One, categorize each expenditure. So you may have categories that are as simple as needs and wants, but you might also have categories that are broken down more specifically. So I'm going to have a, going out to eat budget. I'm going to have a general entertainment budget. I'm going to have a subscriptions budget. So every time that you make an expenditure, put it into a category so that you can, understand what you're spending in each category. A lot of the times, if you're using a banking app, they'll do this for you with wonderful little pie charts that show you exactly how many, like, is most of your money going into rent? Is most of your money going into food? Is most of your money going into Starbucks? Whatever it might be, you can see that. One of the reasons that you do this is you want to identify what those spending trouble areas are for you. You might not realize just how much money you're spending on perfume. You might not realize just how much money you're spending on going out to eat with your friends because you're just swiping a card, right? You're not really necessarily doing that calculation. So as you're going along, make sure that you're starting to notice those areas, because through that awareness, you can actually build out changes in your habits. When you are budgeting, I would definitely recommend becoming aware of variable and occasional expenses. So an example of this would be every single year, doesn't matter how long I've lived on this earth, my car tax always throws me off. I forget about it. It shows up. Now I'm paying this that I wasn't expecting to pay, and I got to rearrange my budget. So as these things come up, make a note of them, make a list of them. It might also be air conditioning bills. You're not paying the same in South Carolina in March as you are going to be South Carolina in August, right? Your air conditioning, your electricity bill is going to go up. So accounting for those things, textbooks, Christmas, other holidays that are going to come up that you're going to spend more. So one thing that I recommend is if you know that these budgets are coming up, vet bills. That's one that always gets me. My dog is incredibly expensive. Setting aside money as you go along, putting it into your monthly budget. Okay, like I know that my car payment's coming up, so I'm going to, this month and next month, I'm going to keep putting $20 aside just to build up that fund so that when it hits, it's not a scary thing. I've already set that money aside each month. I don't have to drastically rearrange my life this month. I don't have to just eat ramen. I've prepared for this. Small changes in habit go a long way, y'all. You're not going to change your spending habits and your budgets overnight. Trying to is probably just going to make you do what I've done 1,000 times, which is abandon the idea of budgeting altogether. So just make some small incremental changes, add some awareness, maybe make a spreadsheet, keep it simple, and then you can build on those skills over time. And the best thing that you can do for keeping a budget is to have some accountability. Have someone that is, you can talk to about it, that can keep you on track to make sure that you're meeting your spending goals and hitting those financial goals that you asked for. Right, I'm about to speed run this next little bit so that we have some time for questions. This is another important thing, though. This is not all austerity. Create room in your budget for those things that make you happy. For me, it's coffee. I'm not going to get that. I want to talk a little bit about student loan repayment. And again, we can talk about this more one-on-one, or we also do money management workshops if you're interested. But one of the questions that I get a lot is, should I pay towards my loans while I'm enrolled? And the answer to that is, it depends. If you truly don't have the funds to do that, that's understandable. That's why loans go into deferment when you are a student. But if you have the ability, even just to pay a small amount, it can go a really long way. And this is because deferment and interest capitalization. So even when your student loans are deferred and you are not expected to make payments on them, you are still accruing interest. and that interest is still going to be added to the principal. And that means that your student loan debt will compound, and you'll find yourself in a situation, very possibly, where you pay your loans. 10 years later, you look and you say, what do you mean? I've been paying my loans for 10 years, but it's really the same amount that you started. And that's because that interest is compounding under deferment and even not under deferment. So one of the best things that you can do is, if you have a little bit of extra cash, even if it's a small amount, just pay towards that interest so that interest does not get added to the principal. If you are wondering what the best kind of way to pay back your student loans might be, studentaid.gov has a wonderful loan simulator that you can use. And it is a great way to figure out what payment plan will work best for you. It's really broken down under kind of what your goals might be. So whether your goal is to pay off your loans as soon as possible, you just want to keep just throwing money at them until they're gone. Whether your goal is you want to pay the lowest monthly amount, or you want to pay the lowest total amount over the entire length of your loan, they can show you which different plans will work for you. Also, because y'all are social workers, this may apply to you in your future goals. Public service loan forgiveness, highly recommend taking advantage of it. So if you are working full-time at any government agency, so that means federal, state, local, or tribal, or if you're working for a not-for-profit organization, your loans can be forgiven after 120 payments. So that's roughly 10 consistent years. This only applies to direct loans, so loans that come from the federal government, but it is incredibly helpful. There is a PSLF help tool, and I'll make sure that when I send these out, the link is on there. But if you go to the same studentaid.gov, you can learn about public service loan forgiveness. And if you are on an income-driven repayment plan, those are eligible for forgiveness. So highly recommend that, looking into that, especially if you're going into service, whether it's government or nonprofit. All right, I flew through those things, so hopefully we have some questions. I just want to point out some additional resources that exist here at USC for you. So one of them is Cash Course. So we partner with an outside agency that offers these free online money management modules. You can see here the different topics that they have there, but it's a really useful way if you want to, on your own time, explore these things. Probably easier and a little bit more consolidated than just like YouTubing them, and you know that they've been vetted and the information is highly accurate. Sonia says PSLF program worked for me. Yes, y'all, I was there when my boss had her loans forgiven, and it was like we all just celebrated. I'm on my way, still have a few more years, but it is real. I also want to point out our emergency loan program through the Student Success Center. So we can cover up to $750 with an emergency loan to cover unplanned expenses if those unplanned expenses are impacting your academic success. So maybe your car breaks down and you can't make it to campus. Maybe your laptop got stolen. Maybe you have a sudden medical bill that is like actually impacting your ability to, do your schoolwork. We can offer up to $750 in loans. Those loans need to be repaid in 60 days. There is an application process. You need to provide documentation, but it's a great way as a stopgap if you find yourself in an emergency situation, and can keep you from having to go towards more predatory lending options. So that's through the university. And we've given out lots of these over the years. Students have no trouble paying them back. You have to, through part of the process, be able to demonstrate that you are able to pay it back. But it is a really great thing that not enough graduate students take advantage of, because oftentimes they assume that it's only for undergraduate students. And then finally, I just want to talk to you a little bit about graduate student support through the Student Success Center. So we offer one-on-one consultations. So most of these are peer-to-peer. I will meet with you certainly, but we also have other graduate students from a wide range of programs that meet one-on-one to discuss everything from academic success to money management. So we have consultations on things like, how do you manage your time in graduate school? How do you manage your reading load? How do you manage your writing process? We have money management consultations. We'll sit down with you. We'll help you make a budget. We'll help you understand what financial apps and resources are out there for you. We'll help you make a plan for your student loan repayment. Understanding credit and debt, we can also help you with that. And the last thing that I want to highlight are our accountability groups. So these are weekly recurring small group meetings. Whatever your goals, they don't help you toward your goals, but they do help you towards your goals. That is a typo. Whatever you're working on, you can meet up with students every week for 2 hours, build that accountability and work towards your goals. It's also a great way to meet students who are outside of your program. We offer virtual and in-person options. The virtual options are great because you can just log on wherever you are, get your work done in a supportive environment that builds accountability. So if you want to make an appointment, here's the QR code to Pinji, our scheduling app. And of course, I'll send this out as well. And if y'all don't mind, oh yeah, some key takeaways. So for the sake of time, I'll just leave these up here for 1 second for y'all to scan them. And then I do have a survey if y'all don't mind scanning this with your QR code, just to let us know that this was helpful for you. And I hope we have some time for questions. I know we're just on time here.
If anybody has any questions, y'all can speak now.
No question from me, but just wanted to say that was very informative. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all being here. This is great.
Well, if we don't have any questions, I do want to say thank you so much for everybody for joining. And thank you, Joshua and Mr. Nigel, for just coming in and taking out the time to really give us all this information. This was very informative. Like I told everybody, I'll make sure to get these PowerPoints, and me and Jazz will make sure to get these out on Blackboard soon. But yeah, this was good. Oh, and if anybody like doesn't believe anything they say, like I work with them personally, so that's all the proof that you need. So yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Problem. We're here to help, so take advantage.
Yeah, please don't hesitate. My email's up. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Happy to help with anything.